I welcome you all in the next video tutorial of the pharmacognosy and phytochemistry 2. So in this video tutorial we are going to see an important isolation and the purification method, that is the electrophoresis. So we are now very near to the unit number 5. So we are in this video we are going to cover this unit, as we have already covered some of the important aspects in the unit number 5 like spectroscopic analysis. I hope you remember about the different spectroscopic methods like UV, IR, NMR and mass. As well as we have covered the different type of chromatographic techniques like paper chromatography and TLC, HPTLC. Then we have covered the HPLC, gas chromatography, of course the column chromatography. So we are in the last part of this unit, that is the electrophoresis, an overview of its various application used in the phytochemistry. So let's start. So just go in by the overview of the electrophoresis, because as it is a very lengthy procedure, but in our syllabus we have just and have to get an idea about the electrophoresis, how it works and what are the different type of electrophoresis methods. So as the name indicates, electrophoresis is defined as it involves use of the charged particles. Okay, so it involves use of the migration of the charged particle through a solution under the influence of an electrical field. That's why it is known as electrophoresis, because in this we use an external electrical field. Now how this electrical field, or you can say the migration of the charged particle, aids in separating or identifying different type of compounds as well as different type of constituents. So let's see. So what happen, ions that are basically suspended between the two electrodes tends to travel towards electrodes that appear, or you can say that have a opposite charge. As you know, there are two type of electrodes we generally use, like cathode and anode. Just see this instrumentation setup. As we know, this anode is containing the positive, whereas the cathode contains the negative charge. So how this work in the isolation of different type of compounds, so you can say the identification of the different type of compounds. So the depending upon the charge or the kind of charge the molecule can have, they can either move towards the cathode or towards the anode. So generally we have different type of electrophoresis technique like zone electrophoresis and the moving boundary electrophoresis. In the zone type we include the paper electrophoresis, the gel, the most commonly type that we have in our laboratory also. Then there is also one important technique, that is the thin layer electrophoresis, and of course the cellulose acetate electrophoresis is there. And there is yet another type of electrophoresis technique, that is different type of electrophoresis methods which are based upon the moving boundary electrophoresis like capillary, then very commonly used immunoelectrophoresis, etc. So if we talk about the principle of the electrophoresis, so it is based upon the electrokinetic principle, which involves in the separation of the different charged particles in a fluid using an external electrical field. And it is widely used in life sciences for the separation of the protein molecules or DNA. And in electrophoresis it is used in different laboratory for the separation of the molecules based upon the size, density and its purity. So yes, it can also use in laboratory for separation of different macromolecules based upon their size. The technique applies to the different type of important macromolecules like DNA, RNA and the protein analysis, of course. So before going much deeper into the electrophoresis, let us first understand a basic principle of the Coulomb. So there is a Coulomb law or the Coulomb principle that will help us to understand the concept of this electrophoresis. So what is the utility of this Coulomb's law? It will give us an idea about the force between two point of charges. So what happened? The force between the two charged bodies was studied in 1785 by Coulomb. See again, it states that the force between, or you can say the force of attraction or repulsion between the 2 point charges is directly proportional to the product of the charges, whereas it is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. Just see this diagram and you will clear your points. So let Q1 and Q2, these are the 2 point charges. They are placed in air or vacuum, suppose, at a distance r. So this r is the distance between the Q1 and Q2, and F is represented by the force. So then F is directly proportional to Q1 into Q2 divided by R square. So this is the statement about the Coulomb law. Or you can say that F is equal to Q1 Q2 upon R square. This K is used as a proportional, or you can say the constant here. So watch this image. This is an image of basically it is a separation of a DNA on a piece of gel. So we are going to cover an important aspect of the gel electrophoresis. And the process of separating these macromolecules from a particular protein is known as the gel electrophoresis. So we can say that separation of the DNA fragments on a piece of gel. So let's see how this is possible. So what happened? It is a technique used to separate different DNA fragments based upon their sizes. So this is important. This is based upon the size. And this separation is based upon the movement of the charged molecule when we placed an external electrical field. So first of all, let's see what is the charge in our DNA. DNA is negatively charged due to presence of this phosphate group. And generally, the gel used in the gel electrophoresis is a agarose gel, and we obtain this gel from different seaweeds. Just see this animation a bit. Look at this. This is a sieve we are using here, and we have passed different type of particles, and it will retain only that particles that has a bigger size than that of this sieve. So this same applies to the gel electrophoresis. Suppose you have taken the different DNA fragments and you have loaded the sample on your gel. Suppose these are the different DNA fragments, these are smaller fragments, these are larger fragments, and they are different size, of course. And when we apply an electrical field over here, then this charge will help us in the mobility of these fragments. But not all the fragments will move at the same pace, because we know some of the fragments which are heavier, we can say which have more in size than the lighter, they will move in a slow pace as compared to the smaller ones. Just watch this again, animation again. Suppose this is your gel, this is your gel, this has a very network like arrangement. So these are the smaller type of DNA fragments that will move faster, whereas the larger size DNA molecules will move very slow as comparison to them. So these are the requirements of the gel electrophoresis. We need casting tray, gel, of course, a comb is also used, electrical supply, of course, and our DNA sample. And this is the casting tray in which we have loaded our gel, and it is connected with the electrical supply. So in this case, we have to apply our sample with the help of this comb in this way. So as we know, DNA is a negative charge, so it will move towards the positive charge. So with the help of comb, we will apply this well-like arrangement in our gel in this way. Just see this in this way. Suppose this is negative and this is positive charge. So with the help of this comb, we will made a wells, and we will in this way. Okay, so these wells, in these wells, we will fill our sample, or you can say the mixture of the genetic material, that is the DNA. And another thing we need in this, a dye, because we know DNA is colorless and we cannot observe the movement of the DNA. For that, we need a color dye. So DNA is impregnated with the different dye samples. So I think time is almost over. So we will complete this in the next part. So I hope this is clear. These are the references I have used, and I acknowledge all the sources I have used for preparation of this video. See you in the part 2 video. So I welcome you all in the part 2 video of the electrophoresis. So far we have covered some of the important aspect of the electrophoresis. We have seen Coulomb's law that is applied in the electrophoresis, and we are currently doing the gel electrophoresis portion, and with the help of this electrophoresis we will able to do our whole the electrophoresis phenomena. So let me recall a bit, because you have I request you to watch the previous video also first of all and then watch this video. So these are the different components we require for the gel electrophoresis. We need different type of casting trays, gel, comb, electrical supply, of course, the DNA sample. And suppose this is your casting tray in which is connected with an electrical supply, and over here you have a gel that is made up of agar. Okay, agarose is used. So this is the comb. This is used for forming the wells inside your this gel, that is agarose gel. So with the help of this comb, we will make a particular alignment of a particular spotting of our different type of sample. So suppose this is the negatively charged, because we know DNA is a negatively charged and its movement is through the negative to the positive charge. So what happens, we will mark the comb in this way that it will form a well, and in this well we will fill our sample, and the movement of the DNA is from the negatively charged to the positive charge electrode. So what happens, as we know DNA is a colorless, so we need a dye for the impregmentation or to monitor its path, or you can say the movement. For that we use different type of dyes so that we monitor the movement of the DNA. So let's see again. So just before the loading of the dye, just we will fill our assembly with the buffer solution. We generally use different type of buffer solution in the electrophoresis. And why we use this buffer solution? For the better conductivity. Then we will load our DNA sample in this way. This dye is mixed with the DNA sample, and then we on our power supply. Okay, so this DNA mixture can be tracked with the help of this loading dye. In this way the movement is like this, so it will move in this way. Okay, but you can see the dye, the movement of the dye varies in the movement of the DNA, because DNA will not move with the dye, and dye will move more faster than this DNA, and when it's reached at the top of the side, it will give an indication that dye has been reached, and we will turn off our supply so that we will see where is our DNA. We will see, we will give an idea about our movement of our DNA. Let's see again. So we cannot at this point we cannot able to see any DNA. So to observe the DNA molecule, what we have to do, what will happen, we will treat this gel with a chemical that is the ethidium bromide solution to observe the separation that occur in the different DNA fragments. And why we use this ethidium bromide? Because it binds to the DNA molecules, and when we observe this under UV light, what will happen? This type of fluorescence, or you can say the bright orange band of DNA fragmented or DNA separation, will be observed under the UV light. So this is the reason why we use ethidium bromide. Ethidium bromide is nothing but it is a chemical that will basically bind to the DNA molecules, and it will give us fluorescence when we observe our plate under the UV light in this way. And these orange fragments are nothing but these are there is DNA bands, and they are arranged as per their size. And we know the larger molecule of the DNA, they will move slow, whereas the smaller molecule of the DNA, they will move fast. Okay, so we will find the location. Suppose this is this is your path. Okay, and the larger molecules, suppose you will find at this point. This is your, in this way, this is your path. So this is the larger molecule, this will move slow. So and these are the smaller molecule, they move fast. Very simple. So next step is to compare. When we get these type of results, we have to compare our band with the standard results that we have already have the data. That is known as the DNA ladder. So we will compare our results with the standard result, that is by the DNA ladder, that is the bandwidth we will calculate or observe the DNA ladder. Then after identification, what will happen if we have identified a particular type of DNA? Then what will happen? The next step is we will cut this agarose gel fragment, and it will subject it to the extraction process. Why? Because so as to isolate, because we have seen our syllabus, this is the isolation technique also. So we will cut this band over here and we'll subject this to the isolation part. And this process in this case is known as the elution. So now I hope now you have a brief idea about the gel electrophoresis. So let's watch this video again. I request you to watch this video from this channel. Don't memorize, that is a very fruitful video. So I acknowledge this channel also. So first of all, gel electrophoresis is used for the separation of the DNA fragment is on a piece of gel. So we use a special type of gel in case of gel electrophoresis. So let's see this video again. It is a technique used to separate different type of DNA fragmented based upon their sizes. Now how is this possible? We know movement of the charged molecules in an electrical field. We will apply an electrical field because this is known as the electrophoresis. So we have to apply an electrical field. So suppose this is your DNA molecule and we know DNA is a negative charge, but why? Due to presence of the phosphate group, it is a negatively charged. Okay, and it is a backbone. This is mentioned here. And which type of gels we are using in the gel electrophoresis is, yes, it is the agarose gel obtained from the seaweed. Now next step, yes, it is based upon the size, and the sample of the DNA contain different type of or different fragments of the DNA, that is small molecules or the larger one. Okay, so what happened? Suppose this is an example. This is an example of the sieve. Suppose a different mixture of the particles are passed through a sieve. Only a particular amount of the particular size of the sample will get trapped here. Okay, and suppose this is agarose gel. It contain, look at this. This is the movement. This is the movement of the different type of molecule, DNA fragment molecule. These are, some of them are smaller, some of them are larger, and this is the mesh in the gel. So this is the over structure view of the gel or the mesh in the gel. So in this way, the molecules which are smaller in the size, they can easily move, easily pass through, but the larger molecules of the DNA, particularly in this case, we know they will move slowly. Okay, so this is the principle involved in the separation of the gel electrophoresis. So there are different type of requirement. We need the casting tray, we need the gel comb is very important, electrical supply in the DNA. So suppose this is the casting tray in which the gel is loaded. So we use the comb. Comb is used to prepare wells. Always remember, when the comb is used to prepare the wells, and this is particularly we have to apply the comb over here, because suppose this is a setup, this is negative electrode and this is the positive electrode, and we know DNA will move from the negative to the positive. That's why this is the movement of the DNA from the negative to the positive. That's why we will put our wells here or the bands here. And what happens? We will use a color dye because DNA is colorless. So to observe the movement, we use a dye, and there are different type of dye we use. Okay, and apart from this, we also use the buffer solution to enhance the conductivity better. So this is the application of the sample mixture with the dye. So when we on this assembly, what happen? The dye will move and it will carry the DNA also. So what happen, when the dye will go at this point, this will give an indication that dye has been reached at the top point. So when we achieve this point, we will turn off our assembly then. Okay, and where is DNA? DNA is in between this. So what is the procedure to observe this DNA that is separated? We use ethidium bromide. What will happen? This will bind with the DNA molecule, and when we observe under the UV light, it will give a fluorescence, orange fluorescence, or DNA bands will appear. Okay, and the smaller bands will appear at this point. Suppose this is a movement, the larger band at this point, they will remain at this point, and we will compare our sample with the standard ladder. So this is the arrangement of the different type of bands, and we will, when we compare our band with the standard sample, what happen? Then we will able to isolate. When we will target the particular band, and it will subject to the isolation, we can say the extraction and then isolation part. Only then we will achieve our aim, because we have covered in the syllabus that, look at this, this is our syllabus, electrophoresis in the isolation. So yes, electrophoresis is used in the isolation purpose also. So I think I am running with the time. So again, I acknowledge all the references I have used. I especially acknowledge the YouTube videos that I have used. SlideShare is also very helpful. So I acknowledge that. So do watch the part 3 video, because we will cover the application in the part 3. Thank you. I welcome you all in the part 3 video of the electrophoresis. So in this video tutorial, we are going to see some of the important applications of the electrophoresis. So let's start. So electrophoresis is widely used in the DNA sequencing, because in the gel electrophoresis, we have covered the gel electrophoresis by giving an example of the DNA, separation of the DNA, or you can say the isolation of the particular DNA. So it is widely used in the medical research, in the protein research, for the purification purpose. It is also used for the agriculture testing, separation of the organic acids, alkaloids, carbohydrates, amino acids, alcohol, phenols, nucleic acid, and also insulin. Widely used in the food industry, it is employed in the biochemical and the clinical fields, that is in the study of the protein mixture such as the blood serum, very important. That's why it is used in the forensic science, in the criminology also it has a wide applications. Okay, it is also used in the combination with the autoradiography, which is used to study the binding of the iron to different serum protein. Okay, so it is also used for the analysis of the terpenoids, steroids, and antibiotic, also for the testing purity of the thyroid hormone by the zone electrophoresis. This is very, very common. So paper electrophoresis is used to separate free insulin from the plasma protein. So yes, it is also used as a diagnostic of various diseases of the kidney, liver, and as well as CVS. It is also used for the separation of the carbohydrates and the vitamins. Apart from this is a quantitative separation. So it is a quantitative method. It will have application of the qualitative as well as the quantitative. So it is a quantitative separation of all fraction of the cellular entities, antibiotics, RBCs, enzymes, etc. wherever it is possible. So these are very important application of the electrophoresis. So this is the reference I have used. So I hope now you have your clear-cut idea about the electrophoresis. So we have completed this whole unit, that is the basics of phytochemistry, because we have completed the modern method of extraction. We have completed the latest application of spectroscopy and chromatography as well as the electrophoresis in the purification, isolation, and the identification of the crude drug. Yes, we have completed this unit, that is unit number 5, basics of the phytochemistry from this. So from the next video onwards, we are going to cover the next important unit, that is the unit number 1. Now we will start unit number 1, that is the biosynthetic pathways, because this unit is very, very important. The biosynthetic pathway, you should know about different type of pathways. So again, so far we have covered in the pharmacognosy, we have covered unit number 2, we have covered all the parts of unit number 2, all the crude drugs, and now we have completed unit number 5. So we are remaining with the unit number 1, 3 and 4. So now we will going to start the unit number 1. First of all, we will cover unit number 1 and then we will start unit number 3 and 4. Okay, as you know, you have completed the isolation identification part. Now unit number 3 and 4, they deals with the industrial production, or you can say the estimation or the utilization of different constituents. Suppose in unit number 3 you have terpenoids. In case of terpenoids, you have a menthol drug. So for the menthol, what we have to do, we have to study its isolation. First of all, its biological source, it is obtained from different type of mentha species. Okay, and what are the various methods of extraction of its oil. After extraction, we will go for its identification and then isolation. Okay, and there are different type of isolation method we have covered in the chromatography. And after isolation, we will see the analysis, and there are different type of analytical spectroscopic method for the particular constituents. Okay, so I hope this is clear now. So see you in the next video. Thank you for your patience and listening.